No music intro tonight. I'm not in the mood, Harbin. Um, it's Easter Sunday. Hope everybody had a happy Easter. Um, did whatever you do today. But kind of a somber afternoon here in East Tennessee after the basketball we watched earlier today. I'm Negative Niece. I'm in the virtual YY8 studios in Strawberry Plains, joined by Harb. He's in his virtual studios. Um, So Harbin, it was an up and down weekend for the Volunteers. Not a bad weekend, but just a little disappointing, I guess, how things ended up. Tennessee, for those that don't know, that just listen to this show and don't watch Tennessee Tennessee games. Tennessee lost in the Elite Eight this afternoon to Purdue, 72-66. But on Friday night / Saturday morning, they beat the 3 seed Creighton in a really both of these games, if you were just a basketball fan watching them, were just great games to watch. I mean, they were high level basketball games, not always the cleanest, but they were high level, intense basketball games, NCAA tournament. That's what you that's what you want in March, and that's what fans of Tennessee, Creighton, and Purdue got over the past couple days. But we'll look into these past two games. I told Harb before we got on the air that we'll just talk about Tennessee Creighton, Tennessee Purdue, and see where it leads us. So that could be anywhere, right, Harb?
We could go literally anywhere. And normally we travel the less beaten path on this show.
True. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there.
We'll find out later. So Tennessee, we'll start with Friday night. I say Friday night / Saturday morning because that game ended at what, like 12:30, 12:45, something like that. Maybe later. I don't know. I don't think I got home till nearly 2 o'clock. But late night for us volunteer fans over the past several. I mean, the games in Charlotte were late. The game against Creighton was late, and then this Sunday afternoon game today felt like a noon game, maybe even a morning game. But yeah, the Vols came up short against Purdue. But on Friday night, Saturday morning, Tennessee took down 3 seed Creighton 82-75. Back and forth ball game, really well played game. I thought, got a little, got a little wild there in the second half a little bit, but I thought both teams played pretty well. Um, that Creighton team's tough. We talked about them last week. They're a very good basketball team. They were a tough out for Tennessee, but Tennessee made a bunch of plays down the stretch. The 18-0 run in the second half really helped Tennessee. Put them up. What did we go up? 15, 16 points hard?
16 because we was down two, and then we hit that 18-0 run.
That's right. That's right. And then I think Creighton went on a 20-7 run right after that to get themselves back into it. And I kind of knew when we were looking at that or watching that game, I was wondering when they might do that because they're too good of a shooting team. They can shoot the three ball really well. They average about 11 3-pointers made per game, and those boys can light it up. Shireman outside is a good ball player. The Ashworth kid, even though I don't know how he survived that throat punch that he got from Triple J earlier in the game, but he was able to rebound and have 16 points. And then Kalkbrenner, I had a different name for him Saturday night, or sorry, Friday night. I keep thinking it was Saturday night, but Kalkbrenner, he had 14. Trey Alexander for Creighton had 13, and then I mentioned Shireman, he had 25. But Tennessee had equal amounts. They had Dalton Connect at 26, Zakai Ziegler 18, Triple J with a big 15 points. Jordan Gainey had chipped in 7. Tobe Awaka chipped in 5. Um, you and I watched the game there on Friday night. What did you think about it?
Uh, we played very well. You could tell that we were, if not the one of the most physical teams Creighton's seen all year, and it proved that was the difference. They could not handled the physicality. They did score 75. They shot it pretty well. But
Yeah.
it was hard for them to get into a flow. Somebody put out a tweet I thought was funny. Said Creighton looks like one of the preppy AAU teams that's never seen a physical zone before in their life. So that was funny, which I have a lot of respect for Creighton. Coach McDermott's one of my favorite coaches in the country. Obviously, Doug McDermott was a legend there, his son. Creighton's a very good basketball team, and that was a very good win for us. Bailey Shireman, very good player. Kalkbrenner as well. And who's the other one? Was it
Alec,
Ashworth?
Ashworth and Alexander.
Yeah, the light skinned point guard they got. He can ball.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, it's a good win, man. And that 18-0 run is going to go down as one of the best moments in Tennessee basketball history. Seriously, because that
Yeah.
was the difference getting us to our second ever Elite Eight.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that, and I want to have, and I text you all this earlier today after the game, but I want to at some point here in the next, few weeks post basketball have a couple shows dedicated just to the basketball and program. And one of them is, the top 5 wins of the Rick Barnes era. And I think that Creighton wins right there in that top 5. And there's been a lot. I mean, it's going to be a tough 5 games to choose from, but that win against Creighton, I mean, when you see the team you're playing, Creighton's a very good basketball team, top 10, top 15 most of the year. And that 18-0 run you had right in the middle of the game will go down, like you said, in Tennessee basketball lore as it's going to be one of the great games in Tennessee basketball history. So it's definitely, it was one of the best wins of the Rick Barnes era, but I think overall it's probably one of the best wins in Tennessee basketball history. And I know Kentucky fans may laugh and scoff about it, but whatever, they can kiss my right butt cheek. But I thought it was one of the biggest wins in this program's history, just with, where we wanted to go, where we hoped to get to, and the team you're facing. I mean, let's face it, they were a top 16 seed and they were one of the best teams in America all year long. That's a very good program. It's not just this year. They're very good every year. And they're one of those teams you're going to have to battle with every year on the national stage to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was big to win that game because years previous we lose that game in heartbreaking fashion. Um, and I mentioned that while you and I were watching the game together. I didn't feel great about the game going into it. I kind of played it up a little bit for the reverse jinx shtick, which obviously now that don't matter. I can come out of the closet, so to speak, on that.
You won't be hater and loser of the week this week.
No, I understand. But yeah, I mean, that game was a toss up. I think on paper we were slightly better, and that's kind of how it played out. But yeah, it was really cool to win that game. Obviously, we'll get into the meat of the topic here in just a second, but it'd been really nice to get one more. But can't hang your hat. An Elite Eight, you've only been there one time previous, so you got to consider it a good year at that point.
Oh, definitely, yeah, and we'll definitely get into that here in a minute. But one couple notes I wanted to throw out. Cameron Carr, big 3 from the corner. I thought it was Jordan Gainey. Of course, we were watching on what was that, like a 32-inch TV standing outside. And I was standing probably, 15, 20 feet away. And I was like, boom, big 3 from Gainey. I was like, wait a minute, that ain't Gainey. That's Cameron Carr. Huge 3. He didn't flinch. They kicked it to him in the corner and he fired away. Nothing but the bottom of the net.
Hey, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
Absolutely. And that game was cool also. I mean, look at so for those that don't know or don't remember, Santiago Vescovi was out with the flu. Hadn't practiced all week, didn't feel well enough to play. So Rick Barnes had to reach deep into the bench against Creighton. I mentioned Cameron Carr. Freddie DeLeon played some extended minutes, contributed. JP Estrella played. And they weren't just out there for 30 seconds. They were out there for a chunk of minutes. Let's see. Estrella, well, he only played 2. DeLeon was only out there for 3 and Carr for 2. I felt like they played more than that, but never mind.
Yeah. Well, while they was out there, maybe not Estrella, but DeLeon and Carr made an impact in the limited minutes they got. Obviously, Carr hit that big 3 in the corner towards the end of the half. I think it was right at the end of the first half, was it
Yeah.
not?
Yes.
Yeah, and then DeLeon just 1 assist in the stat column, but I believe it was a lob to connect, I believe.
I thought he assisted connect on a 3.
Maybe that's what it was.
I think that's what it
I remember
was.
it being a bit. I remember it being a big play.
Or maybe it was that lob. I'll have to go back and look at that. I can't remember.
It don't matter.
The night was a blur, Harbin.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Anyway, I really thought that everybody that played well. If you had to have one critique, I would critique Jonas Edey for his performance.
And we'll get into him in a moment, but yes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about specifically for the Creighton game.
Gotcha.
4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 of 8 shooting. Only played 17 minutes. Only had 1 foul. And at one point, he jerked him out and put Estrella in, and I believe that was Barnes trying a lot of fire under his rear end. Don't think that really worked, but Awaka played well. Awaka got most of the minutes at the big man position. 5 points, 5 rebounds. His impact was bigger than the stat sheet, in my opinion. Just 2 of 7 shooting, but the thing I love about Awaka is he is guaranteed to get at least 3 fouls, and they're not going to be ticky tack. You know, if you're going to foul somebody, earn it. And he does that when he fouls somebody. He did a pretty good job when he was in the game of containing Kalkbrenner, which Kalkbrenner actually, him and Shireman never came out of the game.
I saw that.
They both played 40 minutes. Kalkbrenner had 14 and 7, 6 of 12 shooting. I think the bulk of that, to be honest with you, was when Awaka was not in the game, from what I remember. So, yeah, it was a good team effort. It was nice to see a few guards, like we said, step up in place of I guess a 5-year senior, 4.5-year senior, we'll call it. But yeah, that was really cool to see, and it makes me feel good about the future. You know, especially them getting, even if it's just a few minutes, just getting minutes in a big time game like that. It's going to be important going forward.
Yeah, maybe it'll show them when we need them next year. Don't transfer.
Yeah.
Do not transfer. So yeah, Tennessee, big win against Creighton, moving on to our second Elite Eight ever in school history against the mighty Purdue Boilermakers from West Lafayette. Zack Edey, the big man down low. I have a lot of, and we'll talk later as we get into the Purdue discussion here. I called Zack Edey a lot of names today under my breath. I was at my parents' house. We had some family over. And I swear, Harbin, I have never been so aggravated. And you all know me that listen to this show. I don't really get on the officials a whole lot because I know what they're having to go through. And I understand that they're getting paid a lot of money. And this is high level basketball and they need to get some of this stuff right. And there was, a lot of missed calls in the Tennessee Creighton game. There's a lot of missed calls in every basketball game, but that Purdue Tennessee game this afternoon, I felt like it was a disgrace, to be honest. How the game was officiated and how the game was played, not necessarily on the Tennessee end. And I don't want to sound like I'm being a homer here, but you go back. I encourage you. I know it's tough. Go back and watch. And just watch Edey. Just watch the post on both ends of the court, offense and defense, and how that guy moves around. Now he's good. Let me put this out here. He's good, but he's also 7'4", 300 pounds. And the way he uses his body and gets away with things, I don't understand. I just don't understand why. And this isn't just today, but I don't understand why officiating lets him do the things that he does on the basketball court. He basically pushes everybody around with his arms. Go back and watch how many times he pushes off with his left or right arm when he's posting up. How many times when there's a shot that he doesn't shoot where he pushes off to gain an advantage to rebound the basketball. One time I thought he was about to put a Waka in a reverse DDT. It looked almost like he was about to put him in the Scorpion Death Drop, and he just threw him off of him. No foul, nothing. This guy is the most physical basketball player in America. I don't think that's a reach. How many fouls did you think he had today, Harbin?
Well, I know the answer, so I'll
I
let the
know you
audience.
know the answer, so I'm going to answer it for the people that don't. He had one. He had one foul. He played 39 minutes.
And he had to toss Triple J out of bounds like he was in the Royal Rumble to get that foul.
Yeah, he full armed shoved Triple J out of bounds, and I looked at somebody. I can't remember who was sitting there. It may have been Slagle. I said that's a flagrant foul. Anybody else in America that pushes somebody like that, it's a flagrant one. And maybe I'm overreacting to that, but I was seeing red this afternoon watching that game. I'll get into our post play here in a minute. But the way that game was officiated today. Now, I'll say this too. Tennessee was fouling the crap out of him. There was one time down the court, Tobe Awaka was hugging him. No foul. They didn't call anything. It's like they don't want to blow the whistle around the guy. But then in the second half, it shifted to this: if you breathed on him, it was a foul. Triple J got a foul on him, never touched him. They showed the replay, swapped the ball right out of his hand. It's very frustrating. It's one thing if they threw the ball down low and he put a couple post moves on us and he beat us that way. But the dude shot 22 free throws today, 14 to 22 at the line. Purdue shot 33 free throws. Tennessee shot 11. And it wasn't for the fact I thought Tennessee tried to go inside into the paint. They weren't going into the paint with their post players per se, but I didn't think we just stood outside and shot threes all day long. We shot a lot of threes, but it's frustrating. I think I saw it. I'll have to look this up. In the two matchups between Tennessee and Purdue, they've outshot us at the free throw line by 41 free throws, maybe something like that. It's incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
And they won those games by a combined 10 points.
Yes. My dad said this today. He came outside after the game. We were sitting on the porch watching the game, and he said, that's a Final Four national championship type game, and they played two of those games this year against each other. I mean, that game back in Maui, I would have to go back on here and look. We recorded afterwards, but I think I said that's an Elite Eight, Final Four, national championship type matchup, and that's what it kind of sucked that they had to meet in the Elite Eight. I have my own feelings about the seeding. I think Tennessee shouldn't have been playing Purdue today. Why is the top number 2 seed playing the overall number 2 seed in the Elite Eight? Tennessee should have been playing up in Houston. Theoretically, they should have been playing Houston today, but another topic for another time.
Breaking news. This is just in. I got it in my earpiece. Zack Edey has finally got both feet out of the paint.
Really?
It's 9:25 Eastern time, and he finally has both feet out of the paint. There's going to be a lot of discussion on the the foul discrepancies and the free throws and whatnot. My man was camped in the lane.
Yes.
The whole game. And they never once thought about calling one just to give him like a little bit of a warning. Good friend of the show. I don't know if he listens, but he's definitely a follower on Twitter and good friend, Conley Underwood. He
Oh, he
put
listens. He listens.
Yeah, he put something very funny on Twitter today. And if you're listening to this, Conley, I'm going to give you credit. I'm not looking at it right now, but to paraphrase, he said that a company like Coleman should sign Zach Edey to a sponsorship, and he could do a commercial
Camping.
camping out in the lane.
There you go.
Shout out Conley. That gave me a little bit of smile after the game. Um, but with all that being said, we still had our chances. Let's not act like that was the end all be all. It definitely sucks because we didn't play bad. I thought we
No.
played pretty well on both ends of the court. Um, I hate that it had to end that way for the seniors, but it is what it is. Every year, there's 67 teams that leave disappointed, and there's one team that leaves happy. Um, anyway, Dalton Connect. I mean, 37 points, 14 to 31 from the field, which, if you look at it on paper, 31 shots to get 37, you may be like, well, blah, 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 whatever. But the shots he was making, like, they were not wide open, you know? Like, it was incredible to watch. And we had the pleasure of seeing a performance like that about 8 or 9 times this year. 6 of 12 from three. There was a point in time, well, it was probably about, I don't know, about 6 minutes left in the game. We was down 8. And I was like, this could be over real soon. And I believe it was him and Gainey
Mm-hmm.
smacked an 8-0 run right there to tie the game up. Gainey played well off the bench. It was really that one spurt, but he hit both his threes, 6 points. Played well while he was in. Triple J played pretty good, in my opinion. He only shot it 4 times, but we went 3 of 4, 8 points, 4 rebounds. Meshack didn't play bad. He just didn't shoot. I thought he played pretty good defense. He fouled out in 19 minutes. But when you have 25 fouls called on you in 40 minutes, somebody's going to foul out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The math adds up on that one.
yeah. And then that brings me to Zakai Ziegler and Jonas Adu.
Mm.
ZZ played really bad, just to put it bluntly. He had a great year. Like I said, I don't mean to be repetitive, but I hate how it ended for him. 3 for 12 from the floor, 1 for 8 from three. Felt like he was forcing it at some point, just trying to see one go in, which I understand that. But at the same time, with all the marbles on the line, you gotta use your brain a little bit. And Jonas Adu, I said back, I've said it multiple times throughout the season. During the regular season, there's multiple instances on this show. Somebody could find it and clip it. I said that Jonas Adu would be the reason that we lost in March. And I hate it because he's one of my favorite players, but he's so up and down. And when he plays against a guy that's bigger than him, he finds out, to put it lightly. He looks super nervous out there, which I'm not knocking him for that. I don't think anybody that is on this show or listens to this show can knock a kid for being nervous in the Elite Eight. But he had, in my opinion, far and beyond his worst game of the season. Just played 10 minutes because Rick Barnes was so fed up with him. No points, 0-4 from the field. He airballed a 4-foot baby hook first couple minutes of the game. Just 2 rebounds. Did have a couple assists. 3 fouls. Your starting center that is all SEC cannot do that in March. and you expect to win. We can talk about the foul calls. We can talk about the 3-second going out the window. We can talk about all of that. But Jonas Edey only playing 10 minutes and not scoring and getting 2 rebounds. Boom. There you go. I thought Awaka played well at stretches in his replacement. He actually gave effort and put a body on Edey, which you absolutely have to do. And that brings me to my main man, JP Estrella, the main event. Preached all year I wanted to see more of him, and he is going to be an absolute dog. And I've said that, and people have looked at me funny and been like, I don't see it. You saw it today because he obviously is about almost a foot shorter, probably got 80 pounds less on Edey, and he was in there banging with him and holding his own and played well. Played 15 minutes and played hard, man. Played some really good defense. And then if you look at the team stats, we only shot 38% from the floor. We actually got 9 more shots than Purdue, which doesn't seem possible. But a lot of those shot attempts were free throws for Purdue. Shot 11 of 26 from 3. I thought it was one of the better shooting games that we've had. You make 11 threes, you're going to win most of the ball games you play. They only shot 3 for 15. Rebounds obviously killed us. We got out rebounded about 21. Which is kind of, I mean, you're not going to out rebound Purdue. That's not going to happen. You don't want the discrepancy to be 21. But you're never going to out rebound Purdue. Obviously the fouls were 25 to 12. There were some very questionable decisions, both calls and no calls. And when you shoot 26 threes, the opponent is going to shoot more free throws than you. That's just science. But it should never be 33 to 11, especially with a team like Tennessee. Like, we don't live and die by the 3 ball like Kentucky or like Alabama. I think we have a very balanced offense, and that's just not supposed to happen, in my opinion. But the human brain is so naive because Purdue's done this all year long. They've got, like, I don't know if I said it on the show last week, but I've said it to multiple people. Close your eyes and imagine hopping in a time machine and going to 1985 and telling an avid college basketball fan in the state of Indiana that Purdue in the year 2024 would get 100 times the whistle that Indiana would get. I mean, it's insane. Like, they've gotten protected by the whistle all year long. And I'll give Matt Painter credit. He's an wipe, and he set up the refs before the game started, saying that you're going to play football anytime you play UT. But he's got this thing down to a science, man. And watching Purdue play basketball is, like you said, damn near travesty to the sport. But it works, man. I will give them their flowers on that. And I never thought I would say this, but I hope UConn beats them by 35.
I hope NC State beats them, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean,
I don't think they will, but
in fact, North Carolina State is America's team right now. Especially for Tennessee fans. North Carolina State saved the Final Four from this one being the most unlikable Final Four of all time. Between a dominant UConn team, Alabama, Duke, and Purdue. I mean, I don't even know if I'd watch a damn thing if it was
I'll struggle to still watch it, but I probably wouldn't if those 4 were in it.
Yeah. And 99% of America is going to be pulling for North Carolina State. And I'm included. I don't think they stand a chance against Purdue. I'll be honest with you. I think it's just destined to be UConn and Purdue at this point. Yeah, I think that's what it's setting up for, and I think UConn's going back to back. They're a buzzsaw. The spread against Alabama. Alabama is a good team, by the way. I'm not going to give them too much credit because it's Alabama, but UConn is favored by 11 and a half points in the Final Four against a good Alabama team,
Wow.
which I don't know what the spread on Purdue and NC State is. I'm sure it's probably going to be close to that.
I would
But
assume so.
yeah,
Uh,
but circling back to the game today or Sunday for y'all listening. Um, it just sucks because like if the whole team plays bad, you can just kind of point at that and be like, well, you played like shit. That's what you get. Outside of two players, we played very good basketball. Made our shots, played some pretty good defense. Some things didn't go our way. It wasn't our best performance of the year, but I don't think we. I think them boys need to hold their head high for how they played and for the season that they had. It's hard to say that right now because obviously you want to win every game that's in front of you. But them boys played good. They played hard, and they brought us our second ever Elite Eight to this program. I think they got a lot to be proud of. It's gonna suck not ever seeing Dalton Connect wear orange again. That was an absolute pleasure, young man. Um, but yeah. I mean that's all I've got. I went through just about every emotion watching that game. I was pissed off. I was hyped. I was sad. And it sucked because I was at work. I was in the torture chamber.
oh God.
I was sober. I had to not use a ton of explicit words, and I couldn't get away and not talk to the people I didn't want to talk to in times where we went down. But um, it's a good year, man. It's a good run. Zack Edey can eat my shorts though, especially with him calling out Rick Barnes. Did you see that?
Yeah, I'm going to comment on that here in a minute.
Understand.
Oh God, that crawled all over me.
That's ridiculous. Especially a coach that's respected as much as him. You know, if it was somebody that kind of runs their mouth and talks that talk, like absolutely fire back. That is
Spoiler
ridiculous.
alert: Zach Edey's my hater and loser of the week.
Well, I mean,
We'll do
obviously,
that later. But yeah, that crawled all over me. And you
yeah,
all know me; I'm a big Rick Barnes fan, and I did not like that. I know what he was trying to say,
it
but
didn't come out correctly
it did
though.
not come out in a positive way at all. Couple notes I looked up here. In these two games, Tennessee versus Purdue, one in Maui and then one today. Tennessee was 28 of 41 at the free throw line. Purdue was 50 of 81. 40 more free throws in two games. That's unbelievable. I can't get over that. That just I can't. It's making me I can't talk, Carbon. Okay. My biggest disappointment, and you all know, you all have listened you all have listened to this show. Excuse me, people that talk to me all the time. I'm a big Jonas Adu fan, defender. I think he's a pivotal piece of this team. Over the last few games, though, I don't know what's gone on with him. Just look at his progression during his career at Tennessee. As a freshman, he averaged 2.1 points, 2 rebounds a game. As an ad plays on my computer. His sophomore year last year, 5.1 points a game, 4.9 rebounds, an uptick. This year he takes a huge leap, more playing time. He averages 7 more minutes a game. 11.7 points a game, 7.5 boards a game, 1.9 blocks a game. So a big increase. And you've said it on here a lot. We've all said it. He's a key piece to this team. You mentioned against Creighton, he did nothing. Today against hold on, sorry. Today against Purdue, 0 points. He played 10 minutes. Rick Barnes gave up on him. And Rick didn't really give up on his guys too often. He gave up on Jonas Edey today. Against Texas, Jonas Edey was 11 points, 4 rebounds. Okay. Against St. Peter's, which I don't even know if I should count that or not, because he was physically outmatching everybody on that team. He had 15 and 6. I don't know. I want to count that. Mississippi State in the SEC tournament. He played 26 minutes and had 5 points, and he did have 10 rebounds. Let's see here. Against Purdue out in Maui, he had 5 points in 13 minutes.
Niece, what do all those teams outside of St.
They have a
Peter's
big man, and I understand that. That's not what I'm frustrated about. I'm frustrated about, and you said it earlier, he looked nervous. And I do understand that he looked nervous. But it looked like the stage was too big for him today. They've been playing in games like this all year long. The stage should not be too big at this point for somebody that's played as many minutes as he has. But I thought he was timid. I thought, and person we know calls Edey a poon all the time. And I've defended him saying he's not, but he sure played like one today. And I don't know what's happened to him over the last few games, and especially when they play teams like that. He was very timid today. He missed too many wide open shots. He's got to play better. And it's disappointing that we're having this conversation about him needing to play better, because he has been playing better. Throughout the year, you said it a second ago, he's all SEC. He's second team all SEC this year. He had some really big games, but he also had some duds mixed in there that this offseason he's going to have to figure it out, whether that's getting in the weight room and packing on some weight. He's got to get better this is just my evaluation. I'm not Rick Barnes or the coaching staff, but I think he's got to get better in his mid-range game. Get a little bit better at the free throw line. He's not terrible for a big man. He's, I think, around 63, 64% from the free throw line, but the withering and going away in games where you're playing I don't even want to say a great big man, because there's not really that many great big guys in basketball in general anymore. Zack Edey is, but Tolu Smith was good. I don't call him great. Tolu Smith was good. Hunter Dickinson was better than Tolu Smith, but I'm not a huge fan of Hunter Dickinson. I don't really know what he brings to the table, to be honest, but he did not play well in those games, and it showed up again today. To be honest, I know they fought hard. I know Estrella fought hard and Awaka fought hard, but the post play was not what it needs to be for Tennessee to win today. Awaka was in foul trouble most of the game, and we can talk about fouls all day long in this game. It's kind of an outlier, but he was in foul trouble all day. You could just tell Estrella, he fought his butt off. I'll give him that, but he was physically outmatched. Didn't stop him from, I thought the whole team went down fighting. I thought they went down fighting. They didn't back off. Like you mentioned, there was a couple times that some doubt crept in my mind during the game. I was like, oh God, if they don't do something here, this one's going to get ugly. And they would, boom, 6-0 run, 8-0 run, 9-0 run, and get right back in it and take the lead. Tennessee had the lead late in the game. But Edey, over the past couple weeks, and especially today, has been, I don't want to say bad, but he's been very disappointing, because I expect more out of him. I've been a fan of his ever since he got on campus. He's a 4-star recruit out of Durham, one of Tennessee's more highly rated recruits, and he's gotten better every year. They've done a good job getting him better. Just look at his point total, his rebound total, his block total. Everything has increased since he's been here. Even his foul total has increased, Harbin. Even his turnovers have increased. Everything's increased, except his free throw percentage. That went down this year quite a bit. I'm guessing he took more free throws, but it was disappointing. It was disappointing how he played today, and it was disappointing that he played so poorly that the coaching staff didn't have any more faith in him to put him back in there. I mean, he's an all SEC player. He played 10 minutes, and I think he started the second half and maybe played like a couple, 3 minutes, and he never saw the court the rest of the game. I mean, Rick Barnes, he's like, I know what he was thinking. He's like, man, he's off. He didn't do anything to help us. I'm not putting him back out there. And he struggled defensively the last two games against Creighton with the pick and roll. Same thing today. Not just him today, but he really struggled. He just looked like he was lost out there at different points. And he looked like when he got the ball, he looked like a kid in junior pro that you throw him the ball and they don't, what I do? Where do I go? What do I do with this? Did I pass it? Did I shoot it? Triple J looked like that. I think I said that a couple weeks ago. He looked like that, but it was disappointing. I was disappointed in Jonas Edey today. He's got to do some soul searching, which is it's crazy. I'm sitting here saying this because he has improved the last 2 years. He's got to do some soul searching in the offseason. If he wants to take that next step, possibly play in the NBA, he's got to be better. He's got to get better this offseason. He's got to get a little more physical. And he can't let people push him around, and he can't wither and just go away in big games. And he did that today, unfortunately. I'm not saying that's why Tennessee lost today, but it didn't help, especially when you're playing somebody like Zach Edey. Zakai Ziegler didn't play terrible today. He didn't play good enough. Point guard's got to be better than that. He had 9 points. I think he had 8 assists. But he had, hold on a second, I'll look it up. I think he had several turnovers. Let's see here. Ziegler, he only had one turnover. So I didn't think he played good enough. He didn't shoot the ball well enough. He was 3 of 12 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3-point range. He was making those shots against Creighton the other night. But he didn't play well enough. Jonas Edey didn't play well enough. I thought Triple J played pretty well. He kind of vanished in the second half offensively, but Connect got his 37. I mean, he carried the team. I don't know, Harbin. I don't know what to think. This game was, I was texting some guys after the game, and I know Tennessee's a football school. I understand that. But these basketball losses are starting to hurt about like these football losses do, Harbin. I don't know if that's just me. I saw several people tweeting this afternoon. As long as we get football back, this won't matter. I'm sorry, I just can't think that way. Like this game today hurt because I felt like Tennessee was a Final Four caliber team. I said it all year. Go back to the first of the year. It's on record. I said the floor for this team was the Elite Eight. They got there, mission accomplished, but I just felt like we left something on the table today. It sucked having to play Purdue, but that it just, and especially when you watch NC State go on and win, but it just sucks because these losses are starting to pile up, Harbin. It's not fun.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at it one of two ways. You can look at it how the football crowd looks at it, which I mean, we are part of the football crowd, but we're not to that extreme. But the part that like hurt me was like you had a chance to exercise so many demons today. Um, Obviously the big one is get to the first Final Four in program history. That's the big one. But outside of that, just with Purdue, uh, avenged that game back in November, which that's the least of our worries. Avenged the Sweet 16 game from 2019. That team with Grant and Schofield and Bowden and Bone and Alexander, all those guys. Avenged those guys because they lost in my opinion, chicken shit fashion. Which is kind of funny because whichever way you decide to look at it today, we lost the same way.
Yep.
That game was more one call as opposed to a ton. Um, Now on a smaller scale, that ball game we had against Purdue, that we clearly crossed the goal line, and they said
Yeah.
that we did.
Yeah.
Uh, you had a chance to just exercise a lot of demons and kind of get the last laugh, and I kind of thought of all those towards the end when it wasn't over, but it was over. Um, it stings, dude. It really does. Which the sun's gonna come up tomorrow, Lord willing, and also Lord willing, we're all gonna wake up. People are gonna listen to the show. Life's gonna go on. We're gonna be fine. Um, but right now, I'm feeling all the emotions. Um, Mostly, I'm sad. To be honest with you, it's a great year. I hate to see it come to an end. But, you get the anger, you get the overthinking, you get the you also get the happy thoughts, so to say. It's just tough, man. But when you have a basketball program as good as we do, I think over the last 5 years, I would consider us a top 10 to 15 conservatively basketball program in the country. Um, Man, when it's March and you're still playing, you can't think about any other sport. That's just how I look at it. Um, and people that do that are weird to me. But no,
Yeah.
thankful for this team. This team's definitely going to be remembered. Definitely one of the best Tennessee basketball teams in program history. Um, that is what it is. Like I said earlier, there's always 67 teams that go home disappointed.
Yep.
That's just the lay of the land.
Yeah. And I want to have this conversation in another episode about where Tennessee stands, not nationally per se, but in the Southeastern Conference. I kind of got in I made a comment on Hoops Southbound podcast about the hierarchy of the SEC today, and it got some conversation going with some others that were throwing out that Arkansas and Florida and all that. And it's again a different discussion for a different day. But you look at the numbers. Tennessee's right up there at the top in the SEC. And this year, just look at since Barnes has been here, and we can kind of transition here from the Purdue game a little bit and talk about where this program's at as we head into the offseason. I mean, under Barnes, they've got two regular season SEC regular season titles, one conference title. I think they've won 100 and oh gosh, what is it? Oh, he's won 202 games since he's been here. That's crazy. Um, what, three Sweet 16s? Hold on a second. Let me look this up. One, two, three. Yeah, three Sweet 16 appearances, one Elite Eight appearance. All the folks that want to talk about Barnes choking in March. Um, he's got a pretty good resume here in March, besides losing to Loyola and Michigan and Oregon State. But otherwise, I don't know, it's not terrible. I mean, three Sweet 16s and an Elite Eight in 9 years is way more than I thought we would have when they hired this guy almost nearly 10 years ago now. Getting close to it at least. But um, you're right. Tennessee's top 10, top 15 at worst program in the nation right now. I really think they're probably between them, Auburn, and Alabama. I wouldn't put Kentucky in there right now. They're top four, but they're not the top team in the conference. That's either Tennessee, Alabama, or Auburn right now in the SEC. Rick Barnes has got this program in a great spot. I think there'll be more chances down the road as long as he's here to advance on, just depending on who they bring in and the makeup of the team. This could be a big offseason for this program because they're losing some key pieces. Santiago Vescovi. Say what you will about these two, but they're going to be missed. Triple J, Santiago Vescovi, they're gone. Dalton Connect is gone. I don't know who on this team. I have my thoughts about some that may transfer. DJ Jefferson's one. Um, I I don't know if he will or not. I don't know that it honestly matters, but there's going to be some a little bit of roster shakeup coming this offseason, but they've still got a lot of key pieces back. We mentioned Edey, Awaka, Zakai Ziegler's back, DeLeon, and you've got some other guys that have played some minutes in Justin Gainey or Jordan Gainey, sorry, he's back. You've got Cameron Carr, who is a pretty highly recruited player coming in. You've got Cameron Phillips, who's going to have a big offseason ahead of him. Can he get some playing time next year? JP Estrella, he got playing time a lot during the season, not as much as Harbin wanted, but he was out there and did some things this year. So he's got a bright future ahead of him. So the cupboard's not going to be bare next year, but they got, I mean, they have to replace Dalton Connect. There's a lot to replace there. But there's a lot to replace in a leadership role with Triple J and Vescovy too. I mean, they were coaches on the court, coaches on with these younger guys, but there's a lot to replace, but there's also a lot of guys entering the transfer portal out there. So it's going to be interesting to see this offseason. You know, is there any movement? Is any of these guys that are probably buried on the roster that didn't get to play much this year? Are they going to test the waters and see what's going on? We'll find that out over the next. I would say it'll probably come pretty quickly. They're not going to play around, so you know, and I would guess within the next week or so you'll start hearing some names pop out there since the season's over for the Vols. But it's going to be an interesting offseason. You know, last year the only questions going into the offseason were, you know, what's Triple J and about said Triple H. What's Triple J and Vescovy going to do? And is there anybody in the portal we could bring in? And then you start hearing, oh, there's this guy, Dalton Connect. He's coming in for a visit, scored a lot of points at Northern Colorado, but nobody really knew much about him. And we signed him. He was pretty highly rated in the portal. And but we didn't expect what we got out of him. So is there anybody out there? I'm not saying like Dalton Connect, but is who in the portal? You know, guys out there want to play here. We've been too good for too long under Rick Barnes. So there's going to be some interest in playing here because players develop under him. He's put a lot of guys in the pros, not necessarily NBA, but there's a lot of guys playing pro ball right now that have played under him here at Tennessee. And this is a great place to play. Huge fan base. The arena's sold out most every night. When we went to Charlotte last week for that game against Texas, the arena, even though it was in North Carolina country, there was a ton of Vol fans there. It looked like there was a lot of Vol fans in Detroit this week, but program's in a great spot. But it is going to be an interesting offseason because they've got a couple key spots they got to figure out. And I don't know who that'll be at this point. I don't know where they go. There's only one player coming in from the high school ranks, 4-star combo guard, but I don't think he's going to be somebody that plays right away. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason that starts a little earlier than we wanted, but it's here. So we'll see where we go.
Yeah. Speaking of portal, this is obviously just rumors. And I'm going to preface by saying this. I don't think these are true, but a name that I keep hearing that would hurt a lot that I've heard a few times that might enter the portal is Meshack. I don't know why he would, to be honest with you.
Not about him, but that's interesting.
There is probably a 90% chance that he starts next year. In the way too early 2024, 2025 projections, your starting five is looking like, which obviously we're going to add some people, but I would assume that our starting five as of right now would be Ziegler, Gainey, Meshack. You might go Estrella, Edey. I don't know what you want. I don't know if Barnes wants to go two bigs in this era. We have a lot of options. I see Meshack being a very important player next year.
I'm glad you brought him up. He's somebody that we've also seen, especially on the offensive end, get better. He's a terrific defender. And his offensive game was a tick better this year, but I think his next step is working on his perimeter game. He's got to be better from the perimeter. because he's one of those small forward guard type positions. He can play both. He's got to shoot the ball better. He's got to shoot it better.
Yeah.
And Awaka's got to get better offensively. I thought I was disappointed in him a little bit offensively this year. Thought he might be better with the summer he had. Not that he was terrible. He had some moments, but I think he needs to get a little bit more consistent on the offensive end. They got pieces, Harbin. They've got some pieces coming back next year.
Yeah, I mean, and we've gotten to the point where this program's stable. Am I saying that we're going to be top 5 in the country again and be a 2 seed again next year? No, and probably not. Um, but we're going to be competitive. It's way too early to start talking about that because the roster is going to shake and jive quite a bit, I would assume, in this day and age. But we're to a point where we're always going to be relevant, at least. If we go anywhere below like a, I don't know, a 5 seed for reference, that's a down year at this point. Which, if you'd have told me that 8 years ago, I'd have said you're crazier than hell.
Yeah.
You know, so count your blessings, I reckon. But yeah, I think we'll be fine next year. I don't really want to get into too much on that, but yeah, we're in a good spot.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, they do, like I said, they got some pieces to fill in, but um, yeah, I think they're set there to be in contention. I don't know where they would be ranked, top 15, top 20, something like that. I don't really worry about rankings to start the year, but yeah, they've got some pieces coming back. It just depends on what they do this offseason. So Freddie DeLeon's another that needs to have a good offseason if he sticks around. I hope he does. But um, I wanted to go back to something you said earlier. I'll try to find this clip and put it in the podcast. But Zack Edey had made some comments about Rick Barnes after the game today, and I'll try to find them, like I said, and put them in here. It really rubbed me the wrong way. It really, just truly and honestly, it pissed me off.
I get to pay him back. Like there was so many coaches that looked over me. Like you could name a program, I can name a coach that looked over me. The Tennessee, Rick Barnes is a great coach, but he was in a bunch of our practice, looked over me. Like it's kind of been the story of my life. People have doubted me. People look past me and can't do that.
God, it just pissed me off. And I've texted a bunch of people today. Zach Edey's I mean, he is. And just that game today, the way, and I've said this earlier, y'all heard it already, but I'm going to say it again. That game today, that's not how, I don't want to say that's not how basketball should be played. I just, it left a bad taste in my mouth how it was officiated, how, not that Tennessee lost, I'm not saying that, but how it was officiated, how they let one player do pretty much whatever he wanted on the court with no consequence. He camped out in the lane, like you said. Jimmy Dykes tweeted it. When you camp out in the lane for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds, that's hard to guard. Rick Barnes even said it. Rick Barnes will never attack a referee after the game, but he came as close as he could this afternoon after the game, and he said, he spends a lot of time in the lane. That's tough. That was all he said, but I know what he was saying. Like, and by the way, was that not? I know you didn't get to watch, intently because you were at work.
Now I watched intently. Production level was low.
I got you. Rick didn't sit down much today, did he?
No, no, he was.
Normally when the game starts, Rick he will sit down especially at the start of the game. I don't think I saw him on the bench at all today.
No, I mean, he knew how important this game was and what was needed to potentially get a victory. I know a lot of people joke about it, but 99% of this fan base knows how smart that man is. He knows there's certain spots where his team's got it, and he don't have to be super vocal, for lack of a better term, which that's really not his style anymore. But he knew what was at stake, and he kind of, I guess he threw a feeler out there, and he knew what needed to be done. Which I'm sure Matt Painter's comments the night before the game probably didn't help that too much either. That's probably part of the reason why he was a little extra fired up for this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I just the Zack Edey comment toward Rick Barnes. He's my hater and loser of the week. I don't know if he's probably yours too. I just everything that guy. He's just so unlikable. I don't know that the Purdue. I guess it's because they beat us all the time, and they've won 4 games if you count football in a row against us. Maybe it's that, Harbin. I don't know. That program, I used to kind of like. I looked at Matt Painter, and I always liked how he coached and everything. I don't dislike Matt Painter, but Purdue's really like very unlikable to me right now. But Zach Edey makes it 10 times worse. That guy's very unlikable. It's the attitude. It's kind of like I don't know. That's not as bad as LSU women's team. Those gals are very unlikable right now, and they're leaning into it. Another story for another day. But this Purdue Zach Edey's a very unlikable character right now, unless you're a Purdue fan.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes him outside of a small sector of the state of Indiana. And how can you? Just from a let's say you're let's say you're I don't know, call it a Villanova fan, team that didn't make the tournament, just watching basketball. Watching Purdue is one of the worst basketball experiences you'll ever have in your life, just from a viewer standpoint. It's effective, so I'm not knocking them, but it's shitty basketball to watch. Which win at all costs. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think Painter or Edey has some Epstein level dirt on the NCAA officiating crews. That
Something.
yeah, it's. I mean, obviously, I say that in jest, but they're all good jokes contain a little bit of truth. Um, but yeah, whatever. Your starting center can't have 0 points, 2 rebounds.
No, against anybody.
No, especially a team that has a 7'5" center.
So,
Foul. Somebody called him foul mean, and I about fell out earlier.
oh, that's great. I didn't see that. That's awesome. Foul me.
Foul mean.
I said some other names. I called him some other names that can't be repeated. If you want to know what they are, text me and I'll tell you. So I want to get your thoughts, Harbin. This was tossed around, even going into the game. Tennessee got to the Elite Eight. Hadn't been there under Rick Barnes. We hadn't been there since 2010. Bruce Pearl. Obviously, this season was very successful, but thoughts on the season as a whole? Like, what's your thoughts on the season that Tennessee had this year? SEC champs, Elite Eight appearance. What did we win? 29 games, something like that. I don't even have it in front of me, but thoughts on the season?
Season was a success. It's hard to say that right now, but season was a success. What were we preseason, like 17 or something like that?
I don't remember. I'd have to look it up, but it wasn't top 5. I know that.
No, those don't matter. Like you said, SEC regular season champions outright.
Undisputed.
Undisputed. We had SEC Player of the Year, unanimous first team All American, a finalist for the Wooden Award. Including him, we had 3 or 4 All SEC players. Finally got the monkey off our back in the tournament. We won every game we were supposed to, according to Vegas and seeding purposes. I thought this was wild because I think we've only missed the tournament, not including 2020. I think we've only missed the tournament once under Rick Barnes. Is that correct?
Well,
Twice.
his first 2 seasons, we didn't go to the tournament.
Yeah. So we've been 6 times, we'll call it. I don't know the exact number. This was the first time in the Rick Barnes era that we played a higher seed. I don't even know if that's good or bad. That is just one of the craziest stats. Like it's the first time before
Yeah.
Orange.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's the first time we
Like
rode the road orange. I didn't even
like
think of it that way.
that's insane to me. But yeah, like I said before, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. You make it to the second Elite Eight in program history. Um, obviously, you wanted to go a little further, but you can't consider this a loss of a season. I would consider this season if I had to give it a letter grade, I would give the season an A minus. I think that's fair. I think the only season you could get with the program that we have with an A plus is an appearance in the national championship game. But yeah, it was an incredible season. It might even be an A flat, which anytime you talk about the end of the season that doesn't end in a championship, like takes a little bit of damper out of it. But we're gonna look back and be like, man, it's probably a top 3 team in Tennessee history. Seriously, a lot of talent. They did a lot for the state and East Tennessee specifically. I was proud to be a Tennessee basketball fan this season, and it helps going out that we didn't throw a stinker out there, which we've kind of done in the past. Fought hard, played well. I'll leave the speculation to y'all on the rest of that equation. But it's some really fun games in there, man. The Auburn game, the Creighton game, stealing one at Georgia. I know that sounds funny because we're way better in Georgia, but we should have lost that game. There's just a lot of really fun moments, and we also got to see the best player to ever wear orange in my lifetime. We could have a whole show debating who's the best Tennessee Vol ever.
And we will.
Yeah, in my opinion, he's squarely on that Mount Rushmore, even just playing one season. All around great year. A minus to an A is my grade for the season.
I would say A for me. I mean, they won the SEC regular season, which I put more value on than the tournament. Went to the Elite Eight, 120. They were 27-9. I said 29. Won 27 games. I was looking at I pulled up the preseason poll. Tennessee was ranked 9th. I think this was the AP top 25. They were ranked 9th. I think Ken Palm had them in the top 10 most of the year. It's funny looking back on this. Michigan State was 4, but all the players are here. Florida Atlantic at 10, Tennessee 9, Creighton 8, Houston 7, UConn 6, Marquette 5, Michigan State 4, Purdue 3, Duke 2, Kansas at 1. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a fantastic season. I mean, if we would have lost to Creighton the other night, I would have been very disappointed because we need to go further than that. And they did. They did what they needed to do and won, and I give them an A. And we've got all off season to talk about where we go from here and what there is to look forward to. And like I mentioned, I want to have a couple shows here coming up talking about listener of the show, Matt Olson, my friend Laura's husband, is not from Tennessee. He's he's from up north, and it was fun. He texted me the other night, and he was confused as to why Tennessee hasn't had more success in March. And I was kind of laughing. I said, well, I have to tell you about it sometime. So it's got my brain firing. I was like, well, let's just do a show on the history of Tennessee basketball. and talk about where it ranks in the SEC. And I want to do that coming up because I think you'll be surprised where our listeners will be surprised where Tennessee's at compared to where a lot of people think they are. A lot of people look at Tennessee basketball as not a very good program historically. And there were some down years in the 90s and the 80s, but I think you'll be surprised where Tennessee lands on that. But, talking about that, looking back at the season Dalton Connect had, where he ranks in the history of Tennessee basketball, could he have his number retired? I think that's all up for discussion, and maybe have an episode where we look forward to next year and keep track of I want to do a better job of keeping track of the portal and what's going on there, and I do more basketball talk. It's kind of a bad time of year after basketball's over. I know we got baseball, but they only play on the weekend, so not much to talk about. And then we lead into football, Harbin. It'll be here before we know it, and a lot of things going on there, but it'll be a hard time trying to go to sleep tonight after that loss today. It's just, it sucks getting that close and not being able to kick in that door and get to somewhere where we haven't been before. But I will say, Harbin, they saved my bank account from being decimated because I was going to go to Arizona if we went, but now I don't have to worry about that. Maybe I'll go buy something with that money instead of that I'm not going to spend on going to Arizona. We'll see, but might be time to buy some new golf clubs. Not that that'll help my game any.
Now you've got my attention.
I got your attention. Well, guys, I appreciate everybody listening. Another basketball season has come to an end. Appreciate everybody listening throughout the season. We'll, I don't know if we'll be back next week or not. Hopefully we will be, but like I mentioned, we'll have some stuff planned to keep everybody's juices flowing here as basketball ends and baseball begins. But shout out to everybody that's listened throughout the basketball season. It's been a long few months going back to November. This season start wearing on me, man. Basketball's a long season, but they're fun. I love basketball. We'll get Day back on here. I think he texted us today and said he had some thoughts, but he couldn't make it tonight. But appreciate everybody listening. Harbin, you got anything quickly before we head out?
The Masters is right around the corner. Some of the best 4 days in sports. Can't wait. Because I do not give a shit about the Final Four anymore. Just to be honest with you. Masters right around the corner. And I can't wait to hear Hello Friends. And
it's Vern's last Masters.
Uncle Vern.
Uncle Vern is going out. Love Uncle Vern. Well, again, lots still coming up. Masters, WrestleMania, Final Fours next weekend if you want to watch it. I'll kind of watch it from the sidelines. Maybe I'll win some money on some bets, but appreciate everybody listening. Basketball's over. We'll turn our attention toward baseball. Keep you guys updated on basketball as we go forward. We're going to check out. It's been a long day for Harbin and for me. I've been up pretty early this morning. We had Easter breakfast, so had to do that. But we're going to check out. We're going to clock out. Appreciate everybody listening. Remember, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Check out our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe and comment.
Easter. Happy Easter, everybody.
Happy Easter, everybody. Remember, go Vols, and we'll see you guys next time on the Section YY8 podcast.